amazing until you realize you'll know your partner's real thoughts during intimacy and regular conversation. Until we meet again!
That was pretty good. Pretty good for the public works inside of there when you're on some of those pilots on terminals doing demos of trying to take out Jesus and Nazareth. Just nail them to a board over there. They'll just get this kid in here. Now that they're soldiers and you do actually get them on some dual diagnosis, they let it rip, man. You have a lot of traction if you can get it into that kind of system like that, as far as the smallest chip that you'll need, the fastest, largest, smallest chip, seeing what it'll be doing. I mean, realistically, I might need a bunch of those in this one building over here, but Ben Eater and 3B doing the circuitry of what you could use on full blast is me up here running 98.6 degrees with a 2,000 degree torch of propane and oxygen at the proper stoichiometric ratio to get the CT paradox of the dry wet system just so right by eye, in the metrics of what quarry it came from, what other models it was, just me doing the bathroom or bringing it up on the books. We'll get in here about on the back end of this of some of those other book models inside of there that you'll get different time sequences while doing true on evaluations. These take me a while to do up. They all took me a while to get out there and represent some of the deep field that comes with that math. There, it's anywhere as you're looking. We could take an infinite amount of time to describe any one feature in this. Well, let's computer engineer some boots based on what we did, because we'll take that software and then on the farm, and then we'll use it in some other type of deep field where that combination of exactly where it's positioned or how it's positioned into the light cone of the bore model here, just mining bore. Minding my own business, drill. You'll get into there about every once in a while they'll kick up some new alphas, if you will. And I'll play it up with the cell phone on the bar, disrespect the Navy, the lady, or, you leave your phone on the bar like that. I'm going to tell you about me being in there writing that book. This one. It was right there, sitting at some bar, doing it up, writing up these pages. That was me. That's where I was. Instead of being in the military where it's supposed to be, they'll you're just tourists to them because you're not necessarily going to be in their system, and they'll just, pass over you getting a job in the judge coming in to the lawyer. You don't really know the cases. You don't know why this judge did this, but there's an interpretation. As soon as that lawyer was asked for in here, why didn't you stop the interrogation at that point in time and start to and/or deflip-flop the logic on what's going to happen as soon as that goes down like that? Because, well, people don't really care. They'll just bring down the whole damn house about job hunting in 24. All the criteria, all the qualifications, but I'm not what you're looking for, and I don't even know what you were looking at when I sent you the email or the internet application inside of there about who you are, and you could go to the place. It's like, well, if we never met and we never had a physical interview, how do you know I'm not what you want? Just by parties? Well, how do you define your party? How do you define what that is inside of here? Is it Hershey's, NVIDIA? Is it because I was born on natural gas and I was not making the money that this system would represent if I was in there and want to make that natural changeover into the system? And there's just some crazy zoning board, planning board, and shit like that. They get inside of there and think everything's theirs to hold up and shoot up. Well, sometimes you got to get in there. What's the cost on the CPI for what you're doing for the light cone? Back to that write out on the mustard seed plant on techniques or what you're doing, or how you define holding them over from the year over to make sure that you get that late year clone to put it in there and hold up. I mean, I could have run another harvest inside of there after I got it sprouted, but I didn't. I was just looking for something to hold over because I had enough from others, that says if you're doing something like this in the right kind of light cone, or you want to define your stem game inside of here for the seed, corn rollout inside of here would be every year on the black body problem. If there's a 1 or 2 person population in here and I'm correlating that by 1/2, and I'm trying to do that from your Pauli's exclusionary models or Pauli's spin direction, that the brackets of chi, x, y, and z inside of here are defining what that does. And guess what that makes you? That'll make you some trouble inside of here. Eventually somebody's going to run into, well, he has this, that, and the other gun. So maybe somebody's going to say he's also got that how to smoke a blunt in a police station lectured worked out about somebody's dual diagnosis inside of here of how you're defining how they properly secured that system. Back in there, it might be just a dead man's trap about what it is, and you got to be looking at that. Maybe Matthew over there, you're dealing with this one here where it's maybe, I don't know, those other guards, they're following orders, whatever, and this one dropped out or whatever. Deep down, maybe I can give you some time exchanges here, realistically, Matthews, or whichever one it is, but more than likely, it's keeping it in the books. Some way to time function that out into some Warhammer. I mean, technically speaking, that's going to be the same thing. You might have not the Codex Astartes level of financial literacy, human operations, and resources, because nobody's actually ever showed it to you in that kind of system. Now, again, I didn't necessarily give you Johnson & Johnson's yesterday with Palestinian war problems about it being right on one of those nice little rollers that says, instead of coming down, Tesla, instead of just standing up, Toll Brothers and D.R. Horton, that, realistically, there's a time frequency to that. You might hear D.R. Horton and think bull rally and think to be on it like that, but what some of the dangerous systems, once you start to lose that momentum on a different operator, that puts you on a different line inside of there, because realistically there's always this going on between the boss, you, and the ground guy, that just because I can doesn't mean I should rip off his arm or leg or hit him with the forks. That doesn't necessarily great mill mechanics make. For 10 years, damn. What else we got going on here for our exponential idol theses? Really ripping it into the back set. Here I cheated the clock. I can get out to beating it in almost all of the secret star points except for those real cherry hard ones in like 3 hours, just to sit down and crank the clock. But you got to know how to cheat the clock. When's to skip the days, when's to skip the minutes, when's to skips the weeks inside of here, because undertone and all that, some bullshit about the mayor council and meeting and restructuring, and how public meetings has a cop in here not bringing up a part-time officer's position inside of what it is. Well, they'll give you, criteria and training, or have never been in the position where they needed things to have that type of position or criteria to it. And you got to watch people, and the only way to do that is to have them videotape. Explain yourself. Get out there and do the Pensrow Twister theory and show me what kind of marshmallow you're made of. Realistically, that's all you're asking me to do, be on the water treatment team right here, right? Because what we're arguing is how to deal with the acetatic acid, getting that all I have is Tylenol. Now, again, I crush them up and I'll stuff that on that foot as long as there's some kind of base driver of acetatic acid and aspirin. But if Tylenol is all we had, the Nile Red's bottle gear and Holy Perfection black background and bottle gear that have to be, the boiling flask or whatever, it's going to be this, and you're going to do it in the sequence. First, you're going to grind it all off, wash it, get it down in here. That's what a cow is, and that's the whole operation. And that's going to be where those are. If you're thinking Rafa here on this corn aggro garden or anywhere else about that line, well, then you're going to get that corn garden in there, some deep field stuff, just given the general equation. Here, just ABC, 1, 2, 3, basic wavelets, basic frequencies, and basic wave functions of its potential under superposition in that Bohr model moving right. because of the wave operator. Is central limit theory, Hershey goes up, military population goes up. You think, well, that's great. Well, kind of. The number in here is a range of this 1, 2, 3, as long as you understand the operator again on that notation. Even if it went 4 or 9 or 12, that's not so relative. It's very relative, but it's not quite so relative as far as the 4 Gustav under weeklies that take 52 and break it down into 13 months, not necessarily 12. Some people's rotations are just going to be a little different. They would correlate some outlier on that line because of what with Snake Eagle River we're looking at. Any combinations of A's out there and B's and things like that. Now that I have a 9-tailed rabbit in my pocket from Zench over there, it's just that this is how that First Amendment audit works. You can put them all in a pile, and there might be extra A's and extra B's and extra C's and Sigmas and Snake Eagle Rivers laying around all over in here, and you got to put it to the time frequency. I'm having a day. Stay with me, Ray. All right. Yeah, what's for lunch? Back to some of that other area. I mean, the Holy Temple here is not so hard to argue whether I like it or not, given what it actually is. I mean, this is the city over. This is a 45-minute trip away. That might be maybe not quite the size of Gaza, you know what I mean? But what's feeding it? What's supporting it? When realistically, what you have is something that's only about a mile wide right there, all around, and this is all forest. If there's a farm, maybe a stone mill or something inside of here, it gets pretty rural in a hurry. Play the game with me, Mason Robot. Get on the team.